Hey, welcome to this black eye camera tutorial. We cover a lot of stuff in this one. My name is Adam. Let's go. So thank you for purchasing Black Eye if you did. Here it is, hit the buy button. It goes into your library folder. You pick which project you'd like to add it to, which version of Unreal. Open your plugins folder. There it is. We've got documentation. We've got a Discord server, super active. Go there. Lots of questions and help. Okay, let's jump in. The basic LookAt. This is one of the most powerful features in Black Eye. This is responsible for camera rotation, what it's looking at. And what's unique about this is it looks through the lens and it gives you compositional controls. Okay, so let's put a camera in the scene. So open up your drawer. Go to your plugins folder. Make sure you've got that turned on right here. You'll see the Black Eye folder and you'll see cameras, and we've got a few different ones. And just grab the basic LookAt, the cine one, drop it in the scene. Okay, so you can see it's not looking at anything. It's just a zombie camera in the world with a real zombie in the world. Okay, let's set up a LookAt shot. So here's how it goes. You select the camera. Let's make a bit more room here. Select the camera and you'll see there's follow, LookAt, cine camera. We're going to pick LookAt. So it's simple. You find your subject, you hit the eyedropper, you click on a subject. Now the camera is looking at this thing. And by default, it's looking at the entire thing, the bounding box. That's the blue cube that's there. What's cool is you can move the camera around and it'll still look at the thing. Okay, so we're going to make a little sequence here. We're going to create a camera cut track and we're going to drag the Black Eye camera onto the track. And there it is. So the white cube is how the camera is seeing the subject moving in screen space. You've now got a camera looking at something. So let's play it. Kind of a center composition, not that great. And now we're cutting the guy's head off. So maybe we should do some dynamic FOV. So let's turn it on. Go to enable dynamic FOV. And the desired subject viewport size is how big you want that thing on screen. We're going to change the damping. This is the zoom damping. So how aggressively it'll zoom to keep the subject on the screen. And you can see now as it gets closer to the camera is widening. The calculated FOV value there is showing what the FOV is, and it'll dynamically zoom between the two limits, the telephoto limit and the wide limit. So now you've got a camera that's dynamically looking at something and dynamically zooming in order to keep it in frame. So this is just super powerful for creating cutscenes and cinematics when you've got variable sized objects or you just don't want to do the work of keyframing all this zoom. These are the composition presets. They're kind of handy. You can just hit them and it'll put the subject at all the standard rule of thirds. So let's just put it at the bottom left. And with the damping control, the camera will either very aggressively or very thick, viscous, lots of camera weight, move to track and to rotate and to zoom to keep the subject in the same spot. So super quickly, no keyframes. We've got a camera that's probably too wide. This is a bit crazy. Let's zoom in a bit. Don't cut his toes off. Look at that. We got a shot. It's not bad. Super quick. Okay, let's make a new viewport window. Again, you can check this out. Look at the zollies you get because we're moving and zooming. You just try out different shots. Grab the camera, move it around. Does this feel good here? Let's just move it a little. And it's so fast to prototype shot ideas because, you're not putting keyframes down. The cameras know what you want. Let's shoot it from the other side. Shoot it from the front. You can see that bounding box is moving around quite a bit with this motion. So depending on what you're tracking, the bounding box might not be the best way to do it. In a sec, we'll show you that you can track bones. Let's just move this to the side. Okay. So let's not track that. Let's track bones. So when I turn that off, it shows that his root is back there. But if you type in his head, now we're tracking his head bone. And that size that you get, you can change the size of basically the cube, the volume of the head. And what I'm doing now is I'm changing the screen size position to adjust the composition slightly. So this is a different shot now. It's a bit more consistent framing because we're not framing this dynamic, the outer shape of something. We're just tracking its head. I'm just messing with ideas. Let's move the camera around. Let's try different focal lengths. Effectively different focal lengths because it's dynamically zooming to keep that head that size on screen. So I'm going to decouple the damping here or link them. But look at this. This is with no damping. I'm going to zoom in a bit. And you can see we're just like hard pinned. And this is horrible or maybe useful, but that's a, very hard pinned camera. And then just by opening that up, the damping, we've added a bunch of weight to the camera. And this is obviously crazy. Like a number of 5. You can almost think of this as like seconds, like how many seconds it takes the camera to catch up. So anything over 1 is a lot, depending on the speed of what you're tracking. Like, look at this. This is so goopy and heavy now. I'm going to change the screen size a little bit. And this is, probably too much. Let's move that up there. Change the telephoto limit. You can see that we were banging on the limit of the lens, and I had to go down to, 2.4, whatever. Very telephoto. The dynamic zoom will only work inside the ranges of the lens limits. So I've decoupled the damping here. And what's cool about this is you can damp more aggressively left to right than up to down, or vice versa. So because he's got like a lot of up and down motion, we've got more pitch damping and less yaw damping, pitch being up and down. And these are only 2 controls, but they're very powerful and they can give you a lot of different camera behaviors where you want to be sensitive to motion in one axis and less sensitive to motion on the other. Okay, so let's just dial in a shot that's reasonably well composed. And here's Buddy, pigeon-toed zombie with a little skip in his animation cycle. But you get the idea how quickly you can move here. It's so fast. And then, what if? Like, well, let's just try it from the side. Composition's preserved. The object in screen size is preserved. Look how fast you can try out different shot ideas. Multiple subjects. You can track more than one thing. It's super useful. So pick your LookAt, open a subject, add more, little plus. So we got 2 subjects now. And I'm going to make the second one also looking at the character. We're going to track 2 things on the same character. So we'll turn off actor bounds and look at this. Pelvis. So we're tracking the head and the pelvis. You can see top left, the 2 little blue boxes, one on the head and one on the pelvis. And what's really powerful about this, let's just adjust the composition here with the screen space position and make him a little bigger on the screen. So what's powerful about this is you can get very specific character framing, like a cowboy shot or a mid shot. But the characters can be different sizes. Let's say you got a cutscene and there's some small characters and some big characters. You can have a single camera handle them. So right now, because we're tracking, you can see up in the top left, we're tracking his pelvis and his head, combining to make the white box in the viewport which is containing both of those volumes, the camera's going to zoom to always keep his pelvis and his head in the frame. And that's really powerful. You can put a head and a foot or multiple characters. And then the same thing goes. You can drag the camera, move it around. And you're always going to get that shot with the head and the pelvis that size on the screen. Super useful. Plate and pedestal. It's these little things. They add up to make the camera feel more realistic. So the camera plate distance and the pedestal height give you a pivot point that's not on the camera sensor, which is the default in Unreal. And you can see now that we're mimicking the pivot point of where this thing would be if it was on a fluid head tripod. So like that's what it normally is. And the camera very unrealistically rotates around this pivot point. Now that on its own, it's not the most amazing thing, of course, but when you combine that with the dynamic LookAt and the fact that the camera is moving from this position, which is far more realistic, like this is how we've seen a camera rotate and twist and turn in all the movies and TV. And when you get that automatically framing and you get the pivot point right, it just feels right. And that's big. Follow, camera movement, a big topic. Let's go to the follow module, pick the eyedropper, pick the character. By default, we just throw the camera back 300 units. So that's probably not what you want. So you can either punch it in the transform inspector or just grab the camera and move it to where you'd like. I'm going to put a little damping in here. So we've got a bit of positional damping. And you can see now in seconds, we've created a track shot. Set the camera to follow the subject, move the camera to where you want it, put a little bit of damping on it, and the camera will automatically follow. Different damping settings are going to change the behavior of the camera drastically. So going from 0.1 to 1, the camera's now really heavy. And you can see as I move this back and forth, like look at that slow, heavy. Maybe that's too much. Maybe that's what you want. And check it out with 0. 100% camera is following, locked. Not realistic, probably not useful. But give the camera just a little kiss of damping. Small values, 0.2 here. And you now have this nice weight. Feels like somebody's carrying it. The camera's got mass. It's more believable. And in no time at all, you've created this camera that is following, looking at the subject, believable weight. And it'll do that no matter where the character is and what the subject does. Sequencer. All right, let's get some cameras on a timeline and do some cuts and blends. I'm going to throw another camera in the scene. And then you take that camera and call it something. And you drag that onto the camera cuts track. And you can obviously do this with as many cameras as you want. Let me just clean up this naming a little bit. We've got a medium and we've got a wide. And I'm going to drag the wide onto the timeline. And because it's a brand new camera, it's not doing anything yet, just staring off into a direction. So click LookAt. We'll click Mr. Zombie. Now it's looking at Mr. Zombie. We'll just clean up the composition a little bit. And we're going to move this back. This is going to be like a big wide shot. Let's push him down to the frame, kind of rule of thirds him. I could have just hit the rule of thirds button. Okay, there's a little bit of damping on there. And we've got this wide side shot. Cool. Okay. What am I doing? I'm going to pick the lens here. Could use a dynamic FOV, but I'm just going to set an FOV. All right. So buddy's moving along. There's that shot. Okay. We're going to duplicate the medium shot. We're going to make that a follow shot. You saw how to set up a follow shot just in a few minutes ago. So this is now a follow shot. We're going to pull it behind. Let me just make a little bit more room and just drag it onto the cut track. So we've now got the follow shot there, shot number 3. And let's put it behind. So you can drag the camera around, of course, and position it that way, which is usually the way to go. But if you want to have like really something super lined up, you can also go into here and just set hard numbers to your follow offsets. So I want it, 0 right right down the line. And let's center punch the composition. Okay, so we've got this follow shot that's behind the guy, and we're just going to move it back a little bit more. Let's just clean the shot up and just take a sec to make it composed a little bit better, a little better framing. Too wide. Okay, there. And then let's lift it up a little bit. Okay, follow shot. Don't cut his feet off. Okay, so we got this side track shot. And then we cut to this wide side. And then we got this follow. And that's fast. We got all these things set up really quickly. And what's cool about this is the character can move. It could be somewhere else. Or you could say, speed the animations up. And it's all going to still work. Okay, you know what? For this side shot, let's not make it a track. So I'm going to go to the subject on follow and clear it. And we now aren't following the character anymore. So we basically turned it into a tripod shot. And let's change the order. You can right click on a clip and change the order. So here we are. Change the order a little bit. Now we're going to turn on can blend. Just right click the camera cuts track, turn on can blend. And look at this. If I overlap those two clips, we go from a cut to a blend. Let's just give it a bit more room. So that crossfade there is blending the cameras together. So instead of going from a cut, we have this hinge shot and it just turns into the follow shot. Okay, too dramatically. Let's fix this a little bit. Make a little bit more room for ourselves. Open this up. Smoother, softer blend. Started a little bit earlier. Okay, look at this. Track shot into this follow shot. Could use a bit more work, but look how fast we're working. Let's go full rapid prototyping, try out crazy ideas. Let's go from that mid shot to a wide in a blend. Kind of weird, kind of fun. Hybrid setups. This is my favorite and one of the most powerful ways of working. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a transform track to this side camera. So it's the wide shot, and we're going to just keyframe that camera position. And there he goes. He walks. The camera's still at that same position. Let's drop a keyframe though. Let's move that camera. You can see it's still doing the dynamic aiming with the LookAt module. And let's put that camera right here. Okay, so that's great. The camera's pushing in. Okay, so let's add another layer to this. We need to fix the composition. This isn't great composition. So select the camera. Let's go back to the start. Select the camera, hit plus, go to LookAt, because we're going to keyframe some LookAt attributes. And then let's add a channel for subject screen position. So this is where the subject is in the screen position. So we've got a key here, and you can see I just moved the composition over. Just fix the damping a little bit. Now the subject's at the bottom left rule of thirds, but that's not great for here. That doesn't look so good. So let's center it and let's push it up. And what that's doing now is we're keyframing the composition. And this is such a great way of working, because at each different beat, you can adjust the composition, and then Black Eye will fill the middle in. So you can say, I want the composition here at the start, and I want the composition like this in the middle, and it'll completely figure it out. And not only will it figure it out, but it'll still figure it out with variable scenario things. If subjects are moving, characters change. It's great. And so the next layer on top of this is to not compose on the whole subject. You could see before, like the framing when we went up close wasn't great. So we want to track the head. So I just picked the LookAt, took off, used the whole actor bounds, typed in head. And so now we're targeting the head, so we can actually we can craft this shot better, because, well, I want to have the camera push in and actually go into being this wide shot and push right in and go into being this head shot. So I'm adjusting the camera position. It's just auto keyframing because we got auto keys set on. We get the framing we want, and look at this. In no time at all, we go from this wide shot The camera pushes in and we land perfectly on the guy's head. Thanks so much for watching. Black Eye, a super powerful camera system for the Unreal Engine on fab.com.